Hey everyone, Mike here. Thanks again for your patience as I took the time I needed to get this second devlog created. My dream indie game, Hometown Hero, is coming along nicely, but truth be told, a lot has happened since I first introduced you to it. So, I held off on recording this video to hunker down and create and learn, rather than documenting, so that I could clearly define what it was meant to be. With that in mind, I'm excited to share with you what I've been working on, and I'm sorry for the delay. You may remember last time that the game was in the very earliest stages of being imagined, and I talked a lot about what my hopes and dreams were for it. Though I had little to show, I'm grateful for all the love and approval each of you showed in the comments. Honestly, I'm still completely blown away by all the views the first video got. Now, I've begun delivering on some of what I planned. As a refresher, Hometown Hero is about the joy of childhood discovery and personal growth and development. I wanted to make a game where the kids growing up in the neighborhood train in a discipline like martial arts and learn to spar with each other using foam bokken, or practice swords. They're non-lethal, of course, and the game features no death. Well, this is still the case, but now it's been even more fully realized. Let me explain. First off, you're set up to compete with the other kids in the town for dominance, and whoever has the highest rank and the most reputation points at the end of the story, that'd be you, will go on to earn a spot at the Academy, a prestigious school where students learn to become explorers and fighters, to protect their hometowns and their friends and family from the dangers that reside in the outside, grown-up world. Your time in and around town will determine whether or not you're cut out for such a task. The biggest development since the first devlog, which I'll link in the description if you haven't already seen it, is that I've switched from a turn-based combat system reminiscent of the old Pokemon games to a real-time action combat. My goal is to allow more freedom, intentionality, and excitement in bokken battles, and against monsters, without losing any of the cozy and cute feeling of the game. Don't worry, it won't be overly difficult or Souls-like. While creating the circular sparring fields of the game world, I realized that I simply couldn't add enough variety in with turn-based combat if all you had were the magic abilities, aka Kairos. And it seemed pointless to even have a sword, the main focus of the game, unless I added in randomly generated hit and swing names to fill in the slots where you've yet to place abilities. This seemed increasingly less fun, so I made the decision to ditch turn-based right after the last devlog, despite my desire to have that retro feel. I think what I've come up with instead feels pretty fun, and I hope you agree. While you'll venture out of town and into the field to fight monsters and even other trainers in battle, and while the goal of the game is to earn the highest rank, there's still plenty of other stuff to do as well. For example, you'll be able to explore unique zones that are wrought with mystery, cook delicious meals, and make deliveries to complete requests for the other townsfolk. Hometown Hero is not multiplayer, primarily because adding network gameplay is outside of my skill level right now, and also for the scope of the project. But also, and more importantly, because I'm aiming for a single-player nostalgic feel of the early 2000s, using something that I like to call simulated social. I'm not sure if I've coined that term, but there it is anyway. There's something about being in the game world where the non-playable characters feel alive and ever-changing, and the fact that you don't need to rely on other players to be ever-present in that world is something that gets me truly excited. I'm not sure why, I've just always been a fan of it. It's for this reason that I've decided to make the other trainers run around the world and make decisions dynamically, instead of remaining rooted to the spot like many traditional RPGs. They'll fight monsters, sit down to rest or eat at restaurants, go shopping, and explore just like you. As someone who loves games like the .hack series, and who has been binging an unhealthy amount of No Man's Sky lately, I've become enamored with the simulated social approach. I sank some time into learning AI behavior trees from scratch in order to make this possible, and I'll continue to do so through the project to make sure that both combat and interactions feel more lively and natural. Again, other trainers are non-playable characters, but that doesn't mean they're boring. In fact, NPCs will be the lifeblood of your playthrough. Talk with passersby, trade items and gear, and more. Build your friendship with every single one of them, or make them a rival by battling them or stealing their monsters in combat. If a fellow trainer gets exhausted in battle against a monster, they'll kneel down to catch their breath. You can run up to them and help them up, and that'll increase your friendship level with them. Later on, I'm going to be placing emotes into the game too, so you can influence your relationship with those around you by expressing yourself. This type of gameplay was a part of the Fable series, and I personally loved it. I believe it'll go the extra step to make the world feel interactive and really add to the immersion. Once you become best friends with a few of the other trainers, you'll unlock new zones and points of interest to explore, as they reveal rumors to you. It's at this point that you'll get to take 2 of them into combat with you as a team. I'd also like to include daily tasks for you to complete based on an endgame calendar and seasons, and a job board so that the social aspect of the town feels alive. But I'm going to let this aspect evolve over time, organically, and see where it goes. Do you remember that chibi character I had from the Unity Asset Store in the last devlog? Yeah, that guy on the screen right now. Well, it would have worked fine for this project, but something just didn't sit right with me. Not being able to control the character design and not taking the time to learn how 3D modeling, rigging, and animation works, well, that was a barrier that I was determined to overcome, and I did. Since the first devlog, I now have a completely custom character. You can see that I've gone with a highly stylized anime look. I'm hoping to capture that classic Nintendo charm. And, while I still have a load of polish to add, you can let me know in the comments if you think I'm on track. In order to simplify character creation, since it's a load of hard work and takes many hours, honestly way more hours than I expected it to, the NPCs are set up to use the same base mesh, animations, and skeleton as the player. Now, all I need to do is create a bunch of new clothing, hair, accessories, and whatnot to make them unique. Everything is already modular, so randomly generating them will be a cinch after that. You've probably already guessed this, but instead of going with the 5 preset NPCs for you to befriend as previously discussed, I'm going to randomly generate between 25 and 30 NPC trainers for each player's save so that there's always someone new and interesting to meet. I intend to launch a Kickstarter still at the end of this year or at the beginning of 2024, and backers will still be able to name their NPC after themselves and decide on their personality too, which I'm very excited about. The visual style for the world has now been decided, and it's looking pretty darn nice if I do say so myself. For the buildings, I went for this nice, rounded, and friendly look inspired by the buildings of the Pokemon games. There are now ponds and fences, walkways, and ground tiles. I've even set it up to where the ground tiles themselves are using a world offset texture that retains its modularity even if the pieces are moved around. What this means is that each piece doesn't need to be textured individually, just properly UV mapped. Early on, I had an overwhelming urge to place a cute bakery in the town, so I placed some outdoor seating here to capture that feel. I do have a lot of work to do outdoors, but the focus for this devlog was reworking the indoor spaces. I had to learn how to create modular kits from scratch for building out environments quickly, and that was kind of a learning process in and of itself. Now, there's new furniture, improved indoor lighting, and room transitions are working so that you can travel inside and outside of homes, hospitals, the dojo, other houses, and even between the rooms inside of those places. In order to place more focus on the combat system, relationships, and the story, I've leaned into the DNA of the world design and modularity, and have created only a few spaces using these principles. This way, I can build out a lot more all at once I have everything solid. I'm also considering reducing the explorable zones down from 8 to 4. Each zone should be plenty large enough though to explore, and to be honest, the area around the town, being a part of the main map, will feature things like a farm, a beach, a graveyard, a factory, a forest, and more. So I don't believe for one second that the world's going to be too small regardless. The zones are primarily areas where you'll load into a new map, like the Haunted Mansion, cave, and other such things. These are still being determined, but let me know what you think in the comments below. To make the most of your time in Hometown Hero, you'll need to cook delicious meals to gain stat boosts, fix and upgrade your bokken to win battles, and fulfill delivery requests for others. While not an original plan for the game, it's always been in the back of my mind that I wanted to add some form of a crafting system to the game, so that's one of my very next goals. I don't intend for this to be super robust, but I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes a core part of the gameplay loop and grows with time. I'm doing what I can to keep things in scope, but I do feel crafting is important to your journey. Besides, it's fun. I'm also tossing around the idea for repairing your gear and upgrading it with new things instead of having you swap out for a bunch of additional weapons and such. I got the idea from No Man's Sky and its exosuit. I still want the player to get new clothing and gear like rings, shoes, earphones, and other modern accessories for stat boosts and benefits, both inside and outside of battle. But this isn't really a game about making armor or anything. As I stated in the first devlog, the goal is to let you grow your stats and increase the protective barrier that surrounds your character. I'll likely let you change the color of your bokken's foam, the wrap around the handle, and so on. Hopefully, I'll find a way to let you decorate it with all of the stickers you'll be collecting throughout your gameplay as achievements. Lastly, I'll be adding a Kairos aura around your bokken, and letting you customize the color and particle effects. This way, it feels truly unique to you. Other trainers will of course have the same custom look and feel capabilities that you do, but those will be randomly generated. Oh, and one last thing. While I did really like the artwork I was using for Hometown Hero before, I felt I needed to put my own personal touch on it. So I've started revamping the brand identity of the project. Here's a work-in-progress sketch along with the new working logo for the game. Ta-da! I hope you like it! Please consider supporting me if you can using the Patreon or Discord links in the description below. These will allow me to get feedback from you and see what you're interested in having in the game, and also allows me to put more time and attention into the project. Thanks again for your interest in Hometown Hero.